Yeah. All right. All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Green Room, as we affectionately call some of our live streams. My name is Dallas Lanier. I'm the executive director of Project Green, and I have here with me.
Oh, my name is Samika Douglas, and I am the director of advocacy with Project Green.
Yes, that is what you are. So we just want to get on here and chat with you for a few minutes on this Friday, payday for many people. So, what better time to talk about money than on payday? And not only is it payday, but it's also, we're just 2 days away from tax day. And so, we may as well just have a little quick money conversation. If you are watching this live, we're going to ask you to share this with your circle, share this on your page so that others can join as well. And while I'm saying that, trying to see if I can do that as well. Well,
And
not
you-
from here. So yep, I need to do what you're doing, Samika, and do it from my phone. So, as I mentioned, we're just a couple of days away from tax day. Now, I know many people file their taxes like on February 1st, as soon as they possibly can. When you got all those W-2s in, you've got all your files together, all your paperwork together, and you already had your appointment ready, and you filed. You did it as quickly as you could so that you could get that refund as quickly as you could. And so, um, if that is you, just give us a thumbs up if you have already filed your taxes, or if you filed it early, give us a thumbs up. All right, I'm sharing this on my phone too. So, um, and believe it or not, the average income tax return is about $2,850. That's what it's been. That's what it was as of 2024. Um, so I haven't seen numbers. I have not seen numbers yet for this year, but
Mhm.
about $2,850. That's a significant amount of money, right? I wouldn't want
Yeah,
to lose that in the street. Would you,
not
Samika?
at all. Not at all.
Yeah. So, what do you do with $2,850? Or if that's average, of course, some people are getting much more than that, especially if you have, the earned income tax credit or home
Mhm.
heating credit. Um, what do you do? Or maybe you had I just was eating at one of my favorite lunch spots, and this place I've been going, it's Cousins Tasty Chicken. I don't mind saying where it is. I've been going there for like 26 years. I can't believe it. But the owner's son, who has always been in there helping, I saw him today, and I heard him talking to somebody, uh, and he said, he talked about his daughter, and so I got a chance to talk to him. Like, oh, you got a daughter now, um, and so so there's a new baby. So sometimes those new babies mean new deductions, and so maybe you got more than 2850. That's where I was going with all of that. So what do you do with that money? And we just want to share a few smart choices for your tax refund. Um, if if that's still on the way for you, or maybe if it's already came, hopefully it's sitting in an account somewhere and you haven't spent it all on any concert tickets or whatever. So so first thing that we would recommend you do, you haven't bought concert tickets yet, have you, Samika?
I have not. I am contemplating though this new R&B thing that's been sweeping the airways lately with Chris Brown and Usher.
Yeah, yep, yep. Everybody seems to be contemplating it. But so number one thing that I recommend you do with your tax refund is prioritize debt repayment, right? So if you have any high interest debt that you want to get paid down, or if you have any collections, you definitely want to get those caught up so that they can get off of your credit report. Those are doing nothing but pulling your credit score down, which is increasing your costs on a lot of the products and services that you might be purchasing or wanting to purchase in the near future. So prioritize debt repayment. And then number two, one of the first steps that you should do with your money is to save for emergencies. And so you should then take a chunk of that tax refund and set it aside for emergencies. And one of the best places to do that, of course, is in a bank or credit union. And Samika, you've looked up some places and researched where people can take advantage of some special promotions at some of our local financial institutions. So why don't you share what some of those are?
Excuse me. Yes. So did a little research, and we were doing. I did the research because we was talking about not only just opening up a banking account, but also letting our money make money for us, right? So a couple of places that I looked into. Of course, we went to Lake Michigan Credit Union, or LMCU. It's the credit union. They don't have a monthly fee. So it's a free checking account. And they also give you a 3.5 interest, meaning that if you have funds in that account, it could earn 3.5 percent of what's in that account. Now, and sometimes thinking about that amount, it may not be too much. It may, like one time I think I got like $1 and some cent like that put in there. But it was $1 and some cent more than what I had, right? Then another account would be another one will be Fifth Third, Chase, Huntington, just to name a few. They all have free checking. And what we also was looking into, again, having those different accounts make money for you. So some of them, if you set up direct deposits, they will actually give you funds for that. So if you set up direct deposits through certain ones, you will get not necessarily even direct deposits either. If you just have a deposit placed in there within like the first 90 days, you might get $200. Another one is $300. So what I went and did is just looked up the different ones, looking at the monthly maintenance fee. Again, we don't want to get into checking accounts that has those fees. We want to try to stay away from those that have fees. I know Chase as well as PNC both have fees. And then you also want to look at if they do, how to waive those fees. For instance, Chase, you can waive the fee if you have direct deposit totaling $500 or more, and also keeping a daily balance. But I think that to me is excessive. The daily balance is $1,500 for some individuals until we're there where we could grow those accounts.
Awesome. Yeah. So Samika talked about a couple of different things there. One is the deposit bonus, right? So just by opening a new account and in many cases setting up that direct deposit within the first 90 days, then you get a deposit bonus. But then she also talked about, for example, at LMCU, that high interest rate. So a high yield, in their case, it's a high yield checking account at 3.5%. So that's another thing to consider, right? Is a high yield account so as you're putting money away for your emergency fund, you might look at a high yield savings account. Now we've named a few banks and credit unions. Many of them are our partners and supporters, but this is completely unbiased. This is not sponsored by anyone. We're not necessarily recommending one over the other, but we're just telling you in general to look for deposit bonuses and high yield accounts to boost your emergency fund. Now let's talk about for a second what an emergency is, right? Because it's easy to say an emergency fund, but what I have discovered is that if you don't define your emergency, then everything looks like an emergency.
Right.
Um, so, you know, I don't want to put you on the spot, Samika, but like, what's something that you would consider a financial emergency?
I would consider a financial emergency something that comes up that you wasn't expecting, but also that needs to be taken care of within 30 days. And actually within 3 days.
Okay.
Um, for instance, a blowout tire. That's an emergency. The water heater go out. That's an emergency. Um, Chick-fil-A dropped the new sandwich. No, I'm just playing.
Right. That's not
uh,
an emergency.
yeah, that's not an emergency.
Right.
Those another thing that's not an emergency. Those concert tickets, as I was saying.
That's exactly right.
But yeah, something that will alter. I think that will alter your life.
Yep.
Um, and that will need to be fixed within a three to 30 day span.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you think about, um, I remember many years ago, our local public school system, they were doing a millage campaign and they called it the Warm, Safe, and Dry campaign. So they were trying to keep the facilities warm, safe, and dry. And it's a very practical way to think about how they were going to spend that money, right? So they wanted the heat to be working, they wanted the doors to be secure, and they wanted to take care of all leaks, right? So think of your emergency fund in very practical ways. Like, you know, you might call it, work, eat, and health, something like that. Like, so if there are things that, or housing as well, right? So if it's things that would threaten your ability to earn money, so like that flat tire, or if the hot water heater isn't working right, that's going to affect your well-being, your health at home. Um, so medical bills, um, car repairs, home repairs, then those are good things to consider as emergencies. But also define what's not an emergency, right? So a sale or an event that comes up. We were listening to my wife and I were listening to, I believe it was a Dave Ramsey video, and they were interviewing somebody, or somebody had called into the show. And long story short, they had a once in a lifetime opportunity to do something with some money, but they were working on some other financial goals. And the advice that Dave and his team gave them was, don't do it. Like, yeah, it sounds enthralling, but there will be other once in a lifetime opportunities. And um, so again, literally think about, write down, define your emergencies, and define what is not an emergency. Let me tell you one more thing, and we're going to move back to what we were talking about, how to use your tax refund. Another thing that's not an emergency for you necessarily is somebody else's emergency, right? So
That's a good one. That's a good one right there.
yeah, so because you can be doing all this planning for your finances and for your well-being and security, and somebody else who's done no planning um, can dump their troubles on you and upend all of the work that you've done. Um, and so make sure that you do that as well. Um, so okay, I'll stop there. All right, let's get back to it. Last couple things just to consider what to do with your tax refund. One would be investing in retirement, so contributing to an IRA or Roth IRA. You should definitely talk with your tax advisor, or Google it, read up on it, about how you should invest in your future. And I'm trying to make sure I don't miss any comments here in the chat. Okay. And then save for future goals too. So, and a future goal could also be like a major purchase. I know a lot of the things that we've talked about here so far don't sound fun and fancy and glamorous, but you should also include that in your plan. So put away some of that money towards maybe it's a major purchase, or might be education, or anything else that you are hoping to do in beyond the next 12 months. And then finally, consider strategic investments as well. So long-term wealth building, you might look at stocks, real estate, and what else you can do to make your money grow in the long term. All right, so those are some things that you might want to consider to do with your refund. I'm looking here in the chat.
While you glance at the chat, I just wanted to say and do a shameless plug too to Project Green. Taking the classes that I have taken with Project Green, what not only planted that seed for when I am out, and like we have to realize what's an emergency, what's not an emergency. Something that's on sale is not an emergency, right? But also having not only me taking those classes. So if you have not signed up for our classes, take the classes because they do help. They help a lot. It help you become conscious of what is an emergency, what's not an emergency. Should I put this away for savings because an emergency may come up? I watched this guy that cooks, and I've been wanting his cookware for the longest. And when I was watching it, he had 70% off. And when I tell you, it was the hardest thing for me not to order, because I'm like 70%. I don't know. I've been following him for years and never seen a 70% off sale. And it was off the whole website, not just one or two items, but it was being conscious from taking the classes that I have taken with Project Green and understanding that I can't spend not just a tax refund, but anything at this moment because I already have plans, right? But also having that self-control, because I walked up and down my stairs 3 times. I even wrote in the comment, "Oh, can somebody purchase that for me?" But I knew that I wanted to save. I knew I had these other things that I wanted to prepare for. So the hardest thing was that self-control. So also having that self-control locked in when you're making these plans, where you're deciding that, okay, I want to save this for my emergency fund. I want to put my income taxes up in a CD or IRA or whatever the case may be to make more money for me. The pots is not going to make money for me. So I had to realize that and be like, and plus I ain't need the pots no way. I have some pots that work just fine. Right? Yeah. So just having that self-control, but also thanking Project Green, because if I haven't took some classes and start recognizing certain things and just the trauma that I still hold inside because I use that as retail therapy, I probably would have bought some pots.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that and being so transparent, Samika. That's powerful. You said something as you were talking that I was thinking about it before you said it. You said those pots aren't going to make money for me, right? So that is, I think something to really consider, because there was a part of me that was thinking, okay, I agree with your decision, right? But if it had been, if you were going to use those pots to start a cooking show of your own, or to, make a dish that you were going to sell, then it wouldn't have been just, a mindless purchase. It actually could have been an investment. A lot of times people use the word investment to describe anything that they buy that's expensive, right? They'll say, I invested in, this designer purse, or I invested in, these designer shoes. And you say that because it costs a lot of money. No, an investment is something that you should design and desire for it to make you money, right? So even as you are considering what to do with your money, and the last thing I said was consider strategic investments. Right. So sometimes, there are things that can be an investment. There was a question in the comments that said, where can I look to learn about stocks? I don't want to go in blind. That was from our own Elena. So a couple of places come to mind. One, going back to what you were just talking about, Samika, our own classes. We have D-Free, which is our 12 Steps to Financial Freedom. It's our core curriculum. There's an introduction to investments there. But then if you've gone through the class, we also can connect you to D-Free Digital, which is an online platform that you can dive more deeply into whatever your financial curiosity might be. So if it's how to invest in stocks, then you can actually get connected to somebody through D-Free Digital that can teach you some more about that. And there's some lessons built into the platform. Beyond that, though, there are plenty of great places, right? So NerdWallet is a great website. Motley Fool is another one that talks about investments. And then if you have an account in one of the brokerage platforms, so whether that's Fidelity or Robinhood, there are lessons and instructions built into those as well. I've got a Fidelity account, and they've got a whole resource toolbox of how to learn about stocks. So that's just a few quick ones. Obviously, there's plenty of more, but just grab one and go for it. The other thing I'll just throw out there too is the library. Don't sleep on the library.
Right.
There are a lot of online resources, and then of course the physical library itself.
Mm-hmm. And even talking to the individuals at the library, I know the one downtown. I want to say his name is Steven. He assists a lot, and he can help you find that information there in the library. I know sometimes, like the question says, don't want to go in blind. Sometimes we don't know what we're looking for. So don't be afraid to go in and ask for assistance and ask for help in those spaces. And then individuals will lead you as well. So just having that, because I know even for me, just that being comfortable to ask. Sometimes we stray away from that to ask for help. So it's okay to ask for that assistance.
Absolutely. All right. So thank you, Samika, for that. And when we put the word out about this live, we said we were going to talk a bit about some banking bonuses. So we did that, kind of couched within this conversation of what to do with your tax refund. So hopefully folks found this helpful, and we are here to serve our community with our workshops and various initiatives. I talked about D-Free 12 steps. We have 500 strong, where we help you save $500 for an emergency. We can match some of your savings as well, right? So you save 300, we match it with 200. And then Fresh Start Credit Builder, just to name a few. But we were listing all these banks and whatnot. We didn't put it in the chat, but if you want more detailed information, reach out to us. You can go to our website, click on the contact link, and reach us there, or you can send an email to info@projectgreengr.org. info@projectgreengr.org. All right. Anything else you want to share, Samika, before we sign off?
No, but just continue to. Well, I say nope and then say something, right? Yeah, just do your research. Do the research and go with what helps you. I know we named a few different banks. I had one individual who I had actually printed out the worksheet for them, and they actually went to several banks on that worksheet and opened up accounts. It's okay to have more than one account, and it's okay to have more than one account at different banks, because I hide money from myself, and so I have several different accounts just to hide money from myself, because I know if I see it, I spend it. So helping myself to recover from that deficiency that I have. I do have several accounts, but I also did the research before opening those accounts to see if my money could make money for me while opening those accounts.
Excellent. All right. Go enjoy the rest of your payday, and do some good things with your money this weekend. And we will see you all next time.
Awesome. See y'all later.